Johrita Solari with us today. And Johrita, this is pretty good. Johrita's a morning person, but think about how early it is right now in Southern California, because that's where Johrita is. So she's definitely gotten up early to be with us today. And Johrita has a great Rotary story. She's been in Rotary for a while. She's now the incoming vice president of the Rotary Board. And so Johrita, welcome. We are thrilled to have you with us from California today.
Thank you, Louisa. It's so good to be here. I'm excited about the series.
Well, I'm excited too. I'm excited to have you because we've had a number of great conversations, and you're the first person in our conversations that I haven't met personally. And so it's really fun to have a chance to get to know you and to understand a little bit about your role and your Rotary story and the leadership that you bring to our board. So first of all, thank you very much for doing that work and for being part of the leadership of the organization. So maybe we would start with getting to know you a little bit more and ask you to tell us a bit about your Rotary story and your role as vice president of the Rotary Board.
Well, thank you, Louisa. My Rotary story is I started in Rotary in 1993, not because I wanted to go to Rotary, but because in 1993, my husband Bruce and I had actually started a new business. And Bruce received a letter inviting him as president of the company to come out and check out the local Rotary Club meeting. And with a slight grin on his face, he brought the letter into my office and said, "I think this is for you." And I read it. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna go to that Rotary Club meeting and leave this rather large gender chip I had on my shoulder right in the middle of that good old boys club. Well, to make a long story short, you see, I was the president of the company and Bruce was the vice president of the company, and the letter was addressed to Bruce Solari, president of the company. So I was going to go there to let them know that women were in business, women were responsible, and women could come into a Rotary Club meeting. Well, when it's all said and done, they were great. They were a great group of guys, and I couldn't wait to join the club. And I joined the Rotary Club of Anaheim in 1993. And actually, the sad part of that story is that the membership went down, and they turned in their charter a few years later, and I quit Rotary for 5 years. Yep. And joined again back in, and that's another story, but joined again back in 2000 and have been in Rotary ever since.
Okay, well, that's why. So 20 years this time, second round. Yes. Stuck. The second round, yes. Well, that's good. That's really interesting. And I can imagine going that first time expecting to need to do some learning and finding it was a good group. So that's good.
Yeah, it was, and we all thought back then that Rotary was all for men only. But, it wasn't. It really wasn't.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad to hear that story. And so now, obviously, the last 20 years, you've progressed through leadership of the new club, and you do live near Disneyland, so you're in a pretty cool area for sure. And so your leadership has evolved, and now you're the vice president. So how does one get to be vice president, and what do vice presidents do?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, we all know what vice presidents used to do, but with the change in Rotary, really the role is really changing rapidly. And my first, and I have to tell you, my first important job is to keep Holger healthy and safe.
Which is hard to do since he's in Germany and you're in Southern California. So right, you're hoping he's there all year.
all year, absolutely. And we talk all the time. We talk, I'm going to say, at least every other week, if not, depending on the situation, more times than that. But we're actually trying to feel our way through this new norm, if you will. And I, as every vice president, would really to act in the role of the president if the president isn't able to do so. So in any event or at any board meeting, if Holger isn't there or wants me to, I act as the president at that time. So it's important for me to keep him healthy. As far as how you get to be a vice president, the president-elect appoints positions, and he appointed me as the vice president. He appointed Bharat Panda as the treasurer, and Stephanie Urchek as the chair of the executive committee. So those are appointments.
Okay, interesting. Wow. And so, and just to remind everybody, to get to that point, that means you've been selected by your zone or the pair of zones that you represent as a director. So what is your zone sort of geographic coverage?
The entire Western United States and parts of Canada, British Columbia. Okay. So it's 2 countries, 17 states. It's a rather large geographical area, and this is my first year of being a director. Is the first year that all occurred. So we had a really interesting time blending in districts and cultures from different areas, and it's, I think, worked out really well. We have some, well, as everywhere, some really tremendous Rotarians and folks that have such energy and talent. So I feel very blessed to be able to be their director.
So that's really something. The first year as a director, and your zone boundaries have changed, like ours, where we were 24, 32, now we're 28, whatever the other one is, and they moved, and so some Michigan clubs came into the zone that we're part of, for example. So you've been through some of that same changing of the lines.
Right. Right. It's a blending, if you will. You know, we're all Rotarians. We're all pretty much do the same thing, but differently, and different cultures. But I have to tell you, the blending has been just a terrific educational process, and made so many new friends. It's been exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And we've certainly seen lots of things evolve, as you mentioned. And I know one of the initiatives that we've talked a lot about this past year, and it continues on, is around Grow Rotary. And that has many different meanings, I think, from obviously the membership side, but also grow our impact and grow in many different ways. And so I'm sure you're part of conversations about how that's evolving. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're seeing over the last couple of months, and how you see the whole Grow Rotary initiative kind of move forward into our new normal, whatever that is?
Yeah, I certainly. I don't think anyone really knows what the future is going to bring, obviously, but it's been really interesting. I agree with you. Grow Rotary isn't about numbers. It's about increasing our impact, and the 4 pillars of the action plan: the adaptability and expanding our reach and engaging participants. But in the last few months, I've seen I've been involved in more club meetings. I've seen and heard that attendance at club meetings have gone up because there are people that couldn't get to them before. Former members are returning, and it's been terrific. In fact, in one of the districts here, the district governor thought, I'm going to reach out to Rotarians that have left Rotary in the last 5 years and let them know that, the Rotary misses them and really would like to have them come back, and contacted over, I believe it was 3,000 members that had gone back. And she had such a positive response that more than 1,000 of those people have recommitted to Rotary.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Yeah. I've heard some folks locally have talked about people that had slipped away for lots of reasons, have reconnected. So that's a really
right. Right. So I think there are so many opportunities that clubs and districts are taking advantage of, and I think we really kind of have to. we at corporate Rotary have to get out of the way and let things happen organically, because, oh goodness, there are a lot better thinkers in clubs and districts that we have to take advantage of.
Yeah, yeah. Now I know one of the things that that you've been doing when you've talked to clubs is you've got a favorite little video clip. Is this a good point for us to look at that?
Yes.
Johrita, or did you want to introduce it in some way?
Well, you know, I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, and he's a leadership guru and the author of the best-selling book, Start With Why. And I really like the way he thinks. And he offered put a video on YouTube about a conversation he's had with his executive team. And it's really interesting, and it speaks to changes in the coming forward and how to deal with them. So I think this would be a great time, Lucy, to go ahead and show the video.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Holly to share a screen with that. She's got it all primed up and ready to go. So Holly, if you can take us to that little video clip, that would be great.
Folks in Australia, and they were pushing me very hard to try and explain how the infinite mindset helps in times like these. And I had a thought on that call that I wanted to share with everybody, which is these are not unprecedented times. There are many cases, lists of cases, where change or something unexpected has put many companies out of business and made other companies come out stronger and reinvent themselves. The invention of the internet put many, many companies out of business. The ones who could not reinvent their companies for the internet age, but rather doubled down on the old way they did business. Every video store is out of business because of streaming, and they couldn't reinvent themselves. When Starbucks moved into neighborhoods, many, many companies went out of business. Many coffee shops went out of business, not because of Starbucks, but because they refused to change the way they did business. They still had an old ripped up couch when you had a better product. Uber is putting taxi companies out of business, not because of Uber, it's because the taxis refuse to change. This is not unprecedented. The fact that something new and this more sudden, absolutely. More shocking, absolutely. Without a doubt. But this is not unprecedented in the business world. And so for us to say, not how do we do what we're doing, but rather how will we do what we're doing in a different world. And the world is different. And the thing that I said on this interview was, it's the companies that have been investing in will and having an infinite mindset for a long time that will come out of this stronger, because they're prepared. Many of them were saving money as opposed to giving out huge fat bonuses to everybody and spending all the money. And the will of the people is high to figure out a way through it. The ones that are struggling the most are the ones that spent all their money, saved nothing, appeased Wall Street, and the will of the people is low, that people are in survival mode rather than reinvention mode. It's the companies that with an infinite mindset that are in reinvention mode. It's the companies with a finite mindset that are in survival mode, regardless of how much money they have. It's the mindset. How are we going to get through this versus how are we going to change to get through this? So I feel so optimistic because we're thinking about the future. We're in a dark tunnel, but there's a light over there. I don't know how far away that light is, but I can see it. But we're in darkness now, but when we come out of there, we will have a better train. A different train. We will be a completely different business. Some of us will have different jobs by the time we get out of this. And that's our opportunity. The opportunity is, what will we be? Not how do we preserve what we had. That's an infinite mindset. And I'm so proud of this team because my attitude is this, not theoretically, but because I'm watching a team go through it right now. I'm watching people reinvent themselves. I'm watching people think about their jobs differently. I'm watching people think, how can I contribute in a new way? I'm watching people say, what could we be? How will we bring our message to people in a different way, in new ways? That will last forever, by the way, not just for now. So proud of you guys. Love you guys. because we are a living example of the stuff that I'm talking about out loud. I get to say, we are doing this. We're not allowing Uber to put us out of business. We're not allowing Starbucks to put us out of business. We're not allowing the internet to put us out of business. We'll reinvent ourselves. This is not unprecedented. This has happened many, many, many times in business. This one's just a little more sudden.
And by different jobs, you don't mean different jobs out of this company, but reinvent yourself within this company.
That is the opportunity. So I know a company, it's a fine dining restaurant in New York City. He's figured out a way to become a delivery company. All of his people have kept their jobs because they have different jobs now. But if you think you're going to do the same job and you're waiting, like if you're a public speaker who was waiting for this to get through so you can go stand on a stage, I got some bad news. That ship has sailed. We have to be a normal company now where we have to market ourselves and develop product. This is a huge wake-up call for us. We had the luxury of being lazy. And I don't mean that in a bad way. There was no reason to reinvent when we're drinking from a fire hose. But now the opportunity is magical. I'm thinking, how do I put myself out there without a stage? This is entirely new for me as well. This is entirely new for me. But I'm not worried about what I do. I'm worried about why I do it. And I will find a job that helps me do that. I'll make a job that helps me do that. And I expect the same of everyone. And here's the best thing, you don't have to do it alone. We've got each other's backs, we'll help each other. Some of it'll be easy, some of it'll be unbelievably difficult. This is a very, very magical team. We're streamlined. Good? All right, I gotta go to the doctor.
Thank you, Simon.
All right, I love you guys.
That was great. That's great, Johrita. I mean, it's really interesting to hear that that different take on things. I think one of the words that many of us probably hope we never hear again is unprecedented. I know our director, Jeffrey Catterett, he goes ballistic when he hears unprecedented. And so to say that it isn't unprecedented is a bit of a counterintuitive thing with what we're hearing. And this idea that, I love this infinite mindset kind of approach, and to think in terms of this being a magical opportunity is a different take on where we are and how we look to the future. So how are you thinking about that, and what are you seeing? Because that's a really great way of sort of introducing that, the pivot, we talk about that a lot, and what a new normal might look like. So how are you seeing that happen for us?
Well, interesting. District 7820 is actually thinking about the future. And this series is a great example of something that may last forever. The connectivity, the opportunities to bring so many people from around the world together to connect with Rotarians, to be able to share messaging. I think this is one of those examples. And there are examples coming out from all over the world. I just was at a district conference, district training assembly that actually was online, obviously. It was in Brazil. They had set up the whole virtual meeting that showed the doors of opportunity in the background, had speakers coming through the doors with a lectern set up, and it was so innovative. It was just wonderful, and they had it was about an hour or so long, about an hour, and it was fast, it was impactful and meaningful. And I see a lot of those kind of things happening. But what's happening also is looking to, what is it going to be? What is it going to be? And so Holger and Mark actually put together a COVID-19 task force to look at how can we identify what can be done in short term, midterm, and long term to really use the opportunities that are coming at us. I think we have had two, maybe 5 years of virtual learning shoved in the last 90 days to us, and we've all taken advantage of it. So how can we do that at Rotary? This task force is getting together and actually going to have our first report to the board next week in what some of those things are. And we're talking about toolbox items that will include how to come back to a meeting, an in-person meeting, but also to have a hybrid and having maybe a Zoom set up so those people that aren't able to come to, or work may take them away, or travel may take them away, they can still Zoom in to that club meeting. And so how do you do that? Well, we're looking at putting together a toolbox to do that. We're looking at putting together a toolbox for video, creating videos in webinars like this as well. A lot of different ideas are starting to bubble up, if you will.
Right. Yeah, and you're absolutely right that we've leaped ahead in our use of technology in a way that would never have happened without this urgency and this disruption to force us to do it, which has been amazing how people have adapted and how people have adjusted. We've done some things in this district. We right away bought 5 licenses, for example, of Zoom to make available to all clubs, and they are being well used. There's very few clubs that are not meeting in some way, and that's wonderful. I guess the part that's a bit concerning as this continues, and it will be quite a while before we have a lot of face-to-face things happening. And for many of us, our fundraisers and our some of our hands-on service projects are just not going to be possible. And so that's a big shift that goes beyond connecting on Zoom. Are you seeing anything, or have any kind of innovative things that have come to your table around sort of ways that people are addressing those, other than the obvious of, oh, let's just do an auction online, or let's take our dinner and pay for it instead of being there in person? What else is happening in those areas?
Well, actually, I'm going to be on a, after this meeting, I'm going to be on a In Polio Now fundraiser, and it's going to be live streamed. And it's going to be also like this on Facebook, and also via Zoom. But it's really pulling together leaders that you couldn't pull together in an opportunity, in a face-to-face meeting, because it would cost a lot more. But all of the money that we're going to be raising isn't going to pay speakers, isn't going to pay travel costs. It's going directly to In Polio. And I've seen some really innovative thought processes from the clubs and districts. So I almost would turn it around on you and say, what have you been doing that has been innovative? What are the people in your district, in your club, been doing to be innovative, and in regards to fundraising, in regards to projects? I could not be more proud to be a Rotarian than I am today. And I hope I continue to say, and I know I will, that the same thing in the future when I see the responses that Rotarians have done for coming and dealing with COVID-19. We're not the first responders, but we look and see what do people do and need. And I see people feeding people that are not having access to food because they've lost their jobs, and Rotarians are out doing it. They're distancing, or they're making face shields that are made at home. They're sewing face masks at home. They're getting online with Volunteer Surge to get on helplines to talk to people that are just stuck at home. There's so many innovative ideas in fundraising and projects. So I would ask you, share them with me.
Well, certainly there are things that are bubbling up, and we're seeing creativity around things like, I know one of our clubs in Newfoundland and Labrador does a lobster dinner, which would be wonderful to go to. So now they're doing a delivered lobster dinner. So some of those kinds of ideas can be adapted. Holly's Club, we were just talking before we started, is starting something that would be similar to the little library idea that you may have seen, but they're doing a little pantry idea with some ways of getting food out to folks. And so, we're seeing things start to bubble up, and I think there will be more. And I love that you mentioned the volunteer surge, because that's one of the things that we're talking about, is how to connect people that want to volunteer with the many people that need help, because engagement will be critical for us as we go forward in the next few months and not see each other face to face as much.
Right, right, exactly. Our zone also started a virtual library, so that all the members that can actually contribute to it and take out of it. So it's just started in the last, I'm going to say, 7 days, and we'll see how it goes.
Great. I'm just going to give a little plug too that next Thursday morning we have Michelangelo Caruso, who will be speaking with us around some of the public relations and public image things that we need to do to think differently. And then our final session of the month is with Cecily Smith, who's one of the Innovative Club advocates, and her area of expertise is around online fundraisers. And so that's an area that many people want to talk about. So I'm excited about those things. So you've had some great thoughts to share with us already, Johrita, but I know we have quite a few people on the call who are either incoming club leaders or incoming district leaders who are thinking, okay, how do we plan? Because we've got all these great tools about planning your year and getting ready for all the things that we normally do, and that's not happening in exactly the same way. So what sort of key advice do you have for people that are coming into leadership roles in July?
Well, I would take this time to look at everything and ask yourself, why are we doing what we're doing? Why? Know the purpose, not because it makes me feel good, but really, why are you doing the things you're doing? Why are you charging the dues you're doing? You're charging. Why are you not having programs, or why aren't you connecting? Why are you doing what you're doing? Know the purpose for what it is. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves why a few times to get to the root cause of why we're doing what we're doing. I think it was Mark Twain that said the two most important days in our lives are the day we're born and the day we discover why we were born. So we should know our purpose. And with these changing times, asking why doesn't mean that something's wrong. It just gives you a process that you can look at and decide, well, this is good, or maybe we need to tweak it a little bit, or maybe we just need to toss it out. So when you're looking at your job, or if you're in the district, or if you're a club president, look at why you're doing what you're doing and go through that process. I think if you start with why, then you can really focus on the possibilities.
Yeah. No, that's a great piece of advice. Thank you for that. Anything else? What else are you sort of seeing as key success points as people are planning and thinking about how do we go into this new world in just over 2 weeks now?
Yeah.
What else is important there?
Well, I think that change management, the thought processes of what used to go into change management has been disrupted, has been totally blown apart. And these are the times that we need to take advantage of these opportunities. Don't be slow with it. Be quick. If you make mistakes, you're going to learn from your mistakes. Making mistakes is not a bad thing. what is it? Oh, I've forgotten the name of the basketball player that missed so many. Oh, Shaq missed so many free throws, but he kept at it, kept at it, kept at it, and actually became much better player because he kept working on and trying and working on his failures to make it a success. I would say the same thing. Please do that. Don't be afraid, and do what you think you would like to do. Don't let other people tell you you can't do something.
Yeah, those are really important points. We talk a lot. I'm sure you've heard people talk about the Rotary police and, oh, you can't do that. That's not the way we do it. And people that sit in the table in the back corner say, you know, oh, I don't think that's allowed, and I don't think that's something Rotary does. I'm sure you've heard that.
Yes.
How do people best respond to those pushbacks that they get from people that have been around a long time and have lots of wonderful things to offer and valuable wisdom, but maybe quick to say, no, you can't do that?
Well, you know what I do is what might work is to listen to what they have to say. Sometimes there are some gems with those pushbacks, but then bring them in. Make them a part of what you're trying to do differently, and get them to participate. And I think you'll find more success than not. I've had the same experiences, and I just continue to say thank you. I appreciate your input, and I'd love you to join this group, or I'd love you to join this task. And you bring a different perspective as we continue to move forward with on this particular path. So I absolutely would thank them, include them, bring them along, and you know what, they may end up being one of the biggest advocates.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think we're in a time where we do need to take some action, and no question there are many different opinions. For example, on I think one of the top priorities that we have to put some time and energy into right now is around anti-racism, and there are many views about what we should or should not do and what Rotary's role should or should not be. And I'm of the view that we need to be a very active player in having our voice at the table, and that to be people of action, we can no longer be the silent witnesses that we've been. And so we need to, as you just said, act quickly, and we need to try some things and be prepared to take some risks and experiment with different ways. And so I'm interested to hear, your reaction to how we feel that those risks are the right ones to be taking, and how we can feel comfortable taking risks and experimenting.
Well, around the issue just mentioned, I think it's important that people have their voice. We have to allow people to have their voice, and a lot of people don't know about gender equity and equality. So this is a great time to bring in the experts into your club meetings, great speakers into your district meetings, into the series, to talk about these issues and what does it mean. Unconscious bias is a huge issue, and people don't even know that they're biased selections, and these are times that we can open our minds and listen and learn. So I would strongly encourage bringing in those kind of speakers that have the expert knowledge and want to share it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a topic that we're looking at now, and it is so immediate in the way that we pivoted quickly to bring technology to bear. I think we need to do some fairly rapid rollout of some actions to really make sure that we are doing what we can to be truly people of action. And you obviously with Simon Sinek, you brought a great video, and you mentioned at least one of his books, the Why book. What else is it about Simon's leadership that has appealed to you, and what else can you share about sort of the nuggets that are most relevant and critical for us to think about?
Oh, interesting. I actually started my director nominee year in our paired zones, and I don't know that it's in all zones. the director nominee works with their class of governors and governor-elects and governor nominees. And I gifted the Start With Why book to all of the incoming leaders and asked them to read it. And then we had series going and about the book and Start With Why. And it is so critical. It is so critical to me. And I use it in my business. I look at not just at Rotary, but I look at everything and ask people, ask myself, why am I doing this? Because I really want to understand that it goes with the purpose and why I'm a Rotarian or why I do the business I do. And then the other important message is Simon wants you to focus and thinks it's important to focus on the possibilities. Focus on the future. What is possible? Think out of the box. And I love that. And don't be afraid to think out of the box and make those things happen. So those are key to me. And there's so many other things that go under that umbrella that are more of an individual experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, those are really important questions that sometimes I think we don't dig down to think about that. And I'm going to remind everybody that if you have questions for Johrita, please put them in the chat box so that we can get to them. But we'll also give you the opportunity to unmute yourself and ask them as well. But I'm going to continue on, Johrita, with that same topic. So Simon obviously spoke about the fact that his world has been standing on stages and talking to people, and that's not going to be happening for the next little while. So he was looking at the why and looking at how he can create something that continues to be, what did he call it? He called it a magical opportunity. And so we have some of that as well. Are there other things that sort of trigger you in your own work and in your business life and in your Rotary life to say, you know, these are these nuggets that everybody needs to be talking about in their club or their small business to really achieve the kind of success that we know we want to have?
Well, geez, that's a great question. And I think really what happens is back in the clubs that sometimes when I think of my club is not the greatest club. And it's not the worst club. So if we don't actively, individually take responsibility to make our clubs better, then, you know, you don't have any room to talk. So I think it would be important to each one of us, no matter what we're doing, if we're a district governor or district leadership, a director, just a club member that's just come in, that we have to do our part to make our Rotary clubs work, each of us individually, and share ideas and be active, be a Rotarian of action in our clubs. And then you find out that maybe you could do more. I am so passionate about being a Rotarian. I really honestly think that Rotary is an answer to peace. We do so many things with 1.2 million. Our members, our footprint is global. We're the only organization that has that global footprint and those connectivities. And we have all the 6 areas of focus. And if you look at each area of focus and actively involved in that, those are all areas of focus that are one day going to come to peace. Peace in countries, peace in the communities, peace in your town, peace in your state. I just think it's so important. And I'm sorry, I went off on a kind of...
No, that was excellent, and it really I think it's critical to think in those ways and to be prepared to take responsibility. I know often when I'm talking with people in clubs, they'll say, you know, I see these things that need to happen, or I see changes we should be talking about, but I don't know how I can make it happen. And or the, you know, there are people in the club who don't want to change or who don't want to even hear about doing something differently. And how do you take action when you're in that kind of situation? And that's a tough question.
That is a tough question, and interestingly, the North American directors have gotten together because we are losing as many members as we bring in, and so we've gotten together and said, what can we do? And looked at the data and looked at where new members are coming from, and they're actually coming from starting new clubs. And so we've all started an initiative under the Grow Rotary initiative, and that's starting new clubs in our zones. We now have regional leaders that are called new club advocates that are actually connecting with every district and working with new club advocate people in the district to start new clubs, to help start new clubs, as well as looking at what we can do to strengthen clubs that are existing at this point with the Vibrant Club Workshop series that Rotary should be having it online. I think if it isn't now, it will be in the next month. But you can go to the Learning Center and get information on how to start a new club that was actually created by Rotarians in a district. That one webinar was created by Rotarians in a district that had experience in starting new clubs. So I think that this initiative is going to probably allow Rotarians that aren't happy in their club to go somewhere else. And you know, that's almost heresy to say that. But you know, if it's not happening, make it happen somewhere else. Yeah. Don't let Rotary go away. Make your experience maybe a satellite club, or you start a new club. You know, I think there are a lot of opportunities. It is a magical time, Louisa.
It is, and it's very interesting to think about that. And I think we, you know, from a district level, we need to be very supportive of people that want to do that, because the immediate reaction, particularly in a community where there is a Rotary club or multiple, to somebody saying they want to start a new one is, whoa, 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 we've already got enough. You're going to pull people from us. And I think the data show that that's not the case. It doesn't pull from existing clubs, and that the infinite mindset, which I love that phrase from Simon, is that we have so many options now. The alternatives, whether it's a satellite, as you said, or a passport club, or a cause-based club, and I love the different cause-based ones. Minnesota, I think, has been, interestingly enough, in the news for lots of things, but they've been very innovative with a club that's focused on human trafficking, with a club that's focused on the environment, a club that's focused on veterans. There's a group in Australia that doesn't use the word club. They're a social action network. So different ways that this infinite mindset idea give us to think about clubs is really interesting.
It is. And I'm also going to say, if you're afraid that you're going to lose club members, look at your club and ask why.
Yeah, good point. They're probably going to leave anyway at some point.
Ask why.
Yeah, that's great. Holly, what questions do we have that we should address from the chat? Is there anything there that... You're muted, by the way.
Yep. Okay, so Fred had the first question.
Fred, what have you got for us today?
The toolbox, the virtual toolbox that you talked about, any thoughts about when it might be ready?
Oh, that's a good question. I know they're working on it now, and I'm going to say, I hope it's going to be ready. I'm going to say 4 weeks, but I'm going to shoot for 2. But I'm going to give myself 4 weeks, because we're just starting to work on it.
Yesterday would be good.
Yes, absolutely.
If we wanted it today, we would order it tomorrow.
Yeah. Perfect. Fred's current district governor in Ontario, or mostly Ontario. His district spreads a bit farther, and we're always glad to have folks from other districts. Holly, who else?
Lise has a question.
Good morning.
Morning, Lise.
I joined Rotary in 1993 as well, and there weren't very many women. But the question I have is more so in regards to the Rotary International Board of Directors approved a diversity, equity, and inclusion policy statement in January 2019. I thought that was great. And I did a session on diversity at our last district conference and used that as a basis. Now I saw that Rotary also came out with a statement, which is great. And the question I have more so, like our club, we were struggling to say what can we do in regards to racism? How can we support? We are people of action. The dilemma, if you want, our club is predominantly white, predominantly male. I mean, the higher number of males, but very white. And so for us to come out, and we don't want to sound as if we're preaching, and so we want to do something, but not quite sure what that something could be. We've decided we're going to start inside our club and do diversity sessions and so on. But I don't know if you have any suggestions as to what this could look like.
Well, I'm going to, first of all, I want you to know that as a director, we don't get a chip and they put it in our neck and I have all the answers. I wish I did. I wish I did. And I get most of my good information and knowledge from Rotarians like you. And so it's what my response would be is to be inclusive. Take what you were talking about, having your club meetings and bringing that series there. Open it up to the community. And see if you can't take, because you're going to probably do it Zoom or a virtual platform. So why not reach out to non-Rotarians and really have and this is just a thought process, a Zoom series, but also have breakout rooms so people can talk and then bring them back to report out to the bigger group, as you would have if you had an in-person meeting. So I think that's important, and then share it with other, maybe even invite other clubs to be a part of it. And I think that would be positive and impactful and valuable.
Thank you. Do I have a second to share a statement from Rotary International that I really liked and that I think is a guiding light? We've decided to put that on our Facebook page. Sure. And a statement from Rotary International. Do I have a second now, Louisa? Sure. Okay. So it reads as follows. At Rotary, we have no tolerance for racism, promoting respect, celebrating diversity, demanding ethical leadership, and working tirelessly to advance peace are central tenets of our work. We have more work to do to create more just, open, and welcoming communities for all people. We know there are no easy fixes and that challenging conversations and work lie before all of us. Rotary's strength has long been our ability and commitment to bringing people together. We will tap into that strength now as we stand with those who are working for peace and justice. Rotary will do our part to listen, learn, and take action to ensure that we continue to contribute to making positive change.
Yeah, that's a great statement. Thanks, Lise. And just so people know, Lise is also in Ontario, in Sudbury, a zone leader, and always happy to have Lise's valuable contributions to our conversation. And that is a very good statement that came from Rotary, and now our challenge is to figure out how to put that into action. And I think the listen and learn part is certainly the way to start. So our district board is meeting on Saturday, and this is one of the items on our agenda to look at exactly what more can we do in terms of building knowledge and awareness. That's the place to start. So I think we'll see some action to start the process. And as we talked about earlier, it'll be an experiment, and some things will work and some things won't. Yeah. Anyone else that has a question that you want to either put on the chat, or Holly, was there any other point there? No? Anybody want to open their microphone for a moment and ask a question? No, we've nailed it. We've nailed it. Oh. Okay, so thank you, Johrita. It's been a great conversation. I want to give you an opportunity to sort of give any final thoughts that you have, or any messages that we didn't get to from my questioning. If I didn't ask the right questions to get to all the good stuff, this is your chance to fill in anything that we haven't given you an opportunity to share with us.
Oh, Louisa, you've done an excellent job. And I so appreciate the opportunity to be here with everyone today. And thank you for inviting me. I just would like to say that these are not, as Simon said, unprecedented times. These are times that I think have rung the most true with both Mark and Holger's themes, connecting, Rotary connecting, and opportunities. I mean, it is just magical times. And I see Rotarians around the world really standing tall and walking with purpose. And I would encourage all of you, as Rotarians and people of action, to stand tall and to walk with purpose in what you do. And that's it. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you today.
Well,
I so
thank you.
enjoy it.